Okay, so I brought my own brand, and I might pass around this thing now. This is a keyring I made. I'm very big on branding items you bring from China, trying to add some extra value. And I created my own brand, Samurai. I created a few different brands along the way, and I'll show you some logos. But if you could just have a look at that and pass along. This is a Samurai keyring which I made. So I brought in my own DVD player and branded it as Samurai. And the reason is, Samurai sounds Japanese. I didn't want to infringe on Sony's copyright. It does start with an S, and it's interesting, it's fun, and I made a logo for it that you can see and pass around. And that's something I really recommend. Because if you're bringing anything from China, did you know that the factories will actually do what's called OEM, which is to put your own brand on it? Do you know that if you actually start doing that, you will actually be building a business that you can sell in 3 to 5 years for way more, because it's actually got a reputation. You're not actually just selling random parts and random products. You are building a brand. So it's a very good tip to actually get these factories to build things for you. Other products I brought in, there was a big health kick, so I brought in pedometers. Also, do you remember when they first started double demerits? Yeah. Anyone ever actually, you've been driving and you're really, scared that you're going to be pulled over? Well, I cashed in on that. And I started bringing the first breath testers in Australia and sold them on eBay. And I made an absolute fortune with those things. They cost maybe $5 to $7, and I was selling them one for 20 or two for 30. Right? And I was just selling quantities and quantities and quantities. So always look for situations where people are scared or there's a need in the market, and that's something that you can really capitalize on. The problem was, everything I brought in was limited. Even though it was from China, I was still limited. Why? Because I could only ship things by air. I didn't actually at this stage have any knowledge about anything besides shipping things by air. And I had a dream. I had a dream that one day I would bring in one of these shipping containers, but I just didn't have the quantities. I knew that the real players of the import game, the real successful people, bring in these containers. So I had this dream. I was like, oh my God, wouldn't it be amazing if one day, far, far away from now, I was to bring in my first 20-foot container. And it just so happened that I figured out a strategy to bring in a 20-foot container. Instead of having one item and filling up a 20-foot container with 1,000 of one item, I found out that you could actually consolidate. You can have maybe 4, 5, 6 separate items and put them in one container and ship them to Australia. How awesome is that? Right? Can you see now how you can actually start importing containers much faster? And I was like, okay, this is a 20-foot container. This is amazing, but I'll never ever have one of those. Anyone can hazard a guess what that is? Fantastic. I'm in a room full of geniuses. And this is the best thing, is that there are also 40-foot high queues, even bigger ones. When you can't fit it in this, you can fit it in one of these. And I was like, I'll never bring in one of those. A few months later, I brought in one, and then a high queue. And then every month I had 3 to 5 containers coming in every month. And believe it or not, I actually had... please save questions for the end. I actually had products that instead of consolidating, I would actually be able to bring in one individual product and fill up the whole container. And the beauty of that is you get the biggest economies of scale. Right? It is as cheap as possible. The factory make it cheap, the delivery companies make it cheap, the shipping's cheap. So then, once I started bringing in containers, my mum and dad were kind of sick of me using their garage. Right? So anyone else have products that they're storing around the house and they know how annoying that is? Is anyone in that position? Yeah, exactly. Okay, so now I'm talking about. So that's me in my warehouse with some of the products I brought in. That's me again. And this is me in my office. And the interesting thing about... Guys, sit down, come in, make yourself comfortable. The interesting thing about my office was that it was also my home. It wasn't my bedroom. I made that mistake because I'm quite lazy, so I'd get up, write an email, and then go have a nap for 3 hours. And eventually I decided to move my office out of my bedroom into a separate room in the house. This is something I'm prolific about. So the beauty of this is when I started my own business, I didn't actually have to commute. I mean, there was no 9 to 5, job. I could sleep in a bit, start around 11, knock off at 3 or 4. It was great, have long lunches. But the cool thing was that there was no actually going to work or getting in a car or getting stuck in traffic. Anyone, hands up if you've got a really long commute. Who's got an insanely long commute? Who's got the longest commute in here? How long's your commute?
An hour and a half, 2 hours.
And with heavy traffic?
Yeah.
So that's 2 hours each way?
Oh, yeah, 2 hours.
So 2.5 hours a day, every day. An hour, three altogether.
Yeah.
So 15 hours a week, right? That's what? How many days? That's almost a day every week of commuting. Wow, it's like 40 days of your life, just of your year, just driving. And that was the cool thing about importing, because I didn't have that problem, right? So I could actually, it enabled me to expand and do a lot more things with my time, but also spend more time with my friends, my family, my loved ones. So I started warehousing bulky items there. That Fumio logo, which you'll see passed around, which was Samurai, which was my brand. And I brought in actually the first electric scooters that were sold on eBay. And this is quite funny because back in the day, when China first comes out with a product, before they've had 2 or 3 generations of savvy importers improving things and tweaking things, they just give you whatever they have, right? And the battery on this item in its first generation was really poor. So you have to imagine this, right? I'm on an electric scooter, and here I am, I'm leaving my house, and I'm riding to university, to my law school. And it's fine, I'm getting there, and it's chugging along. And I get to my university, and then finish my law classes. I'm on the way home, driving along, and I get about halfway to home, and the battery just dies. Right, so here I am the rest of the way, wheeling my bike all the way home. And it was kind of cool, it was kind of funny. And then by the second generation, I was able to fix that problem up. That was kind of a cool story about the fun that I've had in importing. Like, you bring in products, like those alcohol breath testers. Guys, the first shipment of those actually didn't work very well. Right? I knew it because I was staying up late at night drinking vodka, breathing into them, and I was blowing levels of BAC that would make me legally dead. Right? So obviously I couldn't sell those, but later on the shipments improved. So there are some other items I brought in. Now here is something I want to bring special attention into. This here, anyone actually know what that is?
Pocket bike.
Pocket bike. Fantastic. This is also a very interesting story. I have a friend of mine, and he would want an item that he didn't want to pay retail price for, and he was like, "Brendan, could you import it?" I'm like, "What?" He goes, "Just import this item, import me one." I'm like, "I can't just import one, I need to import quantities, and I have to talk to factories." And he goes, "Yeah, but you make money." I'm like, "Yeah, but I have to sell it. Who's going to buy a monkey bike?" That's what they're also called. Who's going to buy a pocket bike? He goes, "Oh, you'll sell them. So I'm like, I talked to a few people, and they're like, "What? You can have a mini motorbike? That's cool." I was like, "This is the stupidest product ever. Who on earth would be so stupid to get down low on a little bike?" And if you told me, so I was like, "Okay, I'll bring in a container." Right? It didn't cost much. It was only $10,000 to $20,000. I'll bring in a container. I'll see how they go. I might lose 10, 20%. That's cool. There's such margins and whatever. If you told me then, if you said, "Brendan, okay, you can sell 3 containers of this and that's it. Right? Sign a contract. You'll make double your money on 3 containers. That's all you can import." I would have signed the contract and kissed your feet. I had no idea that in 2006 I actually sold, believe it or not, 12,000 of these. 12,000. That's a lot of containers. So it's funny. And the reason why I want to show you this picture is they're the opposite in a way, because this is a mini Vespa, and Vespas were cool. And I brought in a container of this thinking I was going to flog it. I thought I was going to bring in so much money, and I was just going to be, it was going to rain from heaven. And this was an absolute doozy, and this item sold and sold and sold. So what I learned is that with China, you've got to actually try different items. Right? You can't just assume it's going to work or not work. You've got to test the market. Bring in the smallest quantity you possibly can and see how it goes. So I always remember these 2 items, and I'm always like, I'm still learning. I might be the guru of importing, or I might be teaching you guys, but I really am secretly still a student, and I am still learning things every day about the import business as the market's changed. And that's the fun thing about this thing. You can keep learning and learning and learning, getting better at it, and you never quite know 100% of things. And that's fine, because you can make, a lot of money with only knowing about 20, 30, 40% of everything then is to know about importing. That's exactly how small they are. Isn't that incredible? That's the factory in China testing the bike. Right? That's a little dirt bike. See, that's what happens. See, this is a Vespa style. That's an electric scooter. That's a pocket bike. But here's also a dirt bike style. So you can mix and match. If one product works, then they've got a